Good bass lines are what makes some rap songs extremely memorable. That was the bass line from Father Stretch My Hands by Kanye West. I just designed that sound from scratch, and today I'll show you how you can do the same. What's good everyone, it's Chambers from chambersmixedit.com, and Happy New Year. I'm here with a very special hardware synth that I'm going to be using to design rich bass sounds from scratch. It's called the Pro 3 by Sequential Circus. It's the same synth I used to make the melodies for my song with 21 Savage. If you want to see how I did that, I'll leave a link to the breakdown video below. So as you can see, the Pro 3 gives you a lot of options to create and manipulate all kinds of sounds. We got LFOs, oscillators, filters, envelopes. It could be very overwhelming, but don't worry, I'm gonna show you guys how you can learn all about sound design in this video. But first, let's start with a clean slate. So when you're starting completely from scratch, this is what it sounds like. Pretty basic sound. It's just a saw wave, and a saw wave is a type of waveform. That's pretty much what you can start out with. With the Pro 3, I have access to a triangle wave, a sawtooth wave, and a square waveform. And aside from the waveforms that I could choose from, I have 3 separate oscillators to work with. So what's an oscillator? I think this clip from my sound design 101 class will clear it up pretty well for you. Oscillators are layers. Think of a cake. You know, depending on the type of cake that you're making, you might have 1 layer, might have 2 layers, might have 3 layers, and each layer might be the same flavor or a different flavor. Think of designing a sound like baking a cake, and you pretty much customize it how you want. My sound design 101 course goes super in depth with everything about sound design, the waveforms, the LFOs, the oscillators, the filters, FX, and more. I just put it out in my online class literally yesterday. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link for you below in the description and in the comments section. So here's a bit of a closer look for you. Got the 1, 2, 3 oscillators right here, and we also have a mixer. That's what I'm going to be focusing on for right now. The mixer right here says oscillator 1 level, oscillator 2 level, and oscillator 3 level. All we're going to focus on right now is oscillator level 1. So I'm going to turn everything else down except oscillator 1, and I'll just have that up like that. So the sound that we have, still playing, just starting out with that sawtooth wave. If I turn it over here, we're going to hit a triangle wave. A little bit more dull, not as sharp. The middle one is the sawtooth, and then over here we have a square wave. I want to use the square wave because it sounds the most gritty, has a lot of grit to it, good for a good potential bass sound. So we picked our waveform. It's going to be a square wave. Now I'm going to go over to the oscillator octave selection. So it's right in the middle right now, but I could go down 2 octaves with it. So now we have a much lower sound as opposed to going all the way up. We're going to go all the way down because we're working with the bass sound. You also have a pitch knob right here. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm also going to leave alone shape mod. But we got our first waveform done, square wave, low octave. Now it's time to add that second layer of cake, another oscillator. So this one, oscillator 2, I'm going to turn down 2 octaves again. And I can play the keyboard. It's not going to sound any different. Why? Because we didn't turn the level up. So let's put oscillator 2 up. Let's mess around with that shape. We have the triangle wave, saw, and square. So when we have 2 squares like that, they kind of cancel each other out. So I'm going to put it on sawtooth. If I turn down oscillator 1, we just hear oscillator 2. Super gritty sound. So I'm mixing oscillator 1 with oscillator 2. They're both at 12 o'clock on the volume. What's going to set them apart though is this pitch knob right here. I can detune our second oscillator a little bit. I'm talking about like cents, not semitones. Like there's 100 cents between each semitone. Like if I were to go from this C sharp up to this D, that's just 1 semitone up, right? There's 100 cents in between these. So with this pitch knob right here, I can change that value, and I'll show you on the menu. Like look at where it says fine tune. We could go down all the way to negative 700 cents, which is down 7 semitones. I'll let you hear what it sounds like to go down 55. Super detuned, right? We don't really want that much, so I'll just go down like no more than 10. Here's with no detune, and here's with a little bit of detune. See how it sounds kind of thicker now? So that's what I'm doing there. I could mess around with the shape mod if I wanted to change the way that it sounds. But for this, I'm going to leave it where it is. And that takes us to our third layer of cake, our third oscillator here. So we can pretend that we got like a chocolate layer of cake, vanilla layer of cake, and now we're on the strawberry layer. And pretty much you stack these layers on top of each other. So we come back to the oscillator menu. I'm going to turn this again down 2 octaves, except this time, when we look at the shape, you see how it doesn't have the triangle, the sawtooth, and the square wave here? It has nothing. So I could turn this and I see all these different names changing on the menu. You're probably not going to see it that well, but it's okay because we have a sawtooth wave, we have a super saw, which is pretty much 2 when they're detuned and like panned apart, pulse wave, triangle wave, sine wave, all different types of sounds. Again, you can learn about all of these types of waveforms with my Sound Design 101 course. I do a video completely dedicated to waveforms, what they mean, what they look like, what they sound like, goes super in depth. You definitely want to check it out. But on that menu, I'm going to choose sine wave. Sine wave is like the most simple wave. It just goes up and down and it's kind of rounded out like a snake. I'm going to cut oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 and just have oscillator 3 on, which is just our sine wave at a low octave. Probably can't even hear it because it's so low. I'll turn it up a little bit more. Or we could go up. That's where you get like that super sub bass feel, right? So I'm going to have that a little bit leveled out more with the other levels. Let's turn them back up. And now let's hear what we have. Here's without the sine wave in it. Here's with the sine wave in it. Now I don't know what you're listening on. Please don't be listening on an iPhone or something. If you got like good headphones, AirPods, or you're on a speaker system with a sub in it, you're really going to hear that bass come out. That's what's going to make our sound that we're designing here so powerful. That sine wave at the bottom. I'm not going to detune the sine wave at all. I really use detuning for like stuff with more high end, more grit to it, like sawtooth waves, like triangle waves, like square waves. All right, so we cover some waveforms, we cover oscillators. We're pretty much halfway done for this specific bass sound. I'll show you guys a quick look at the filter. I'm not really going to use it for this sound, but I'll show you anyway. Here's our filter section right next to the levels, and that pretty much just has this big cutoff knob. If I put it all the way back and play it, can't hear it, right? Hear it a little bit. And that actually sounds pretty close to the bass that was used in the original song, but just wanted to show you guys what the cutoff does. There's these other parameters that change like what kind of EQ curve it is. And then you have your resonance, which in my Sound Design 101 course, I describe as this. You know, now it sounds like I'm underwater, I'm in a blanket. That's what that cutoff is. And resonance is boosting that. So it sounds like this. It's really boosting my high ends. And as we sweep it across, you're going to hear that frequency get lower and lower. And then we pick it back up. Wherever we cut it off, say right here, resonance is how much we boost that point up. So for this specific sound, I want like a really big bright sound. So I'm gonna leave that cutoff all the way up, let all those frequencies be heard. What I want to move on to next is the effects section on the keyboard. So with effects, obviously you're gonna want to be a lot more cautious because you're not putting delay, you're not putting reverb on like a bass sound. What I'm gonna do is just a little bit of chorus, not too much, but just a little to make it sound more wide. So we have these two effects here. I'm gonna hit the first one, which enables that first effect, and I can hit effect type over here, and on the menu it's scrolling through the different types of effects that I have available. We have filters like phasers, choruses, delays, reverbs, all stuff like that. So I'm going to go to chorus, right? And then I go to mix, which controls the mix level of this chorus effect. And I usually put that around like 30-ish, magic number for me with choruses on bass. I go to FX parameters 1, which is going to control the depth of the chorus, and FX parameter 2 will control the rate of the chorus. So the rate is how fast that chorus is going. If I put the depth at full, really going to hear that chorus. And if I put the mix level up really high just to exaggerate it for you, so if I put that rate up super high, we're at 255. You hear the movement in it, that's because the rate's going crazy. You take the depth out of it though, then it takes like really the dimension out of it. It sounds flat now. Usually I hang out around like 30 something on the rate and the depth. Mix level, I'll do like 15. Because it's a bass sound, if you put too much chorus on like a low end bass sound, it's not gonna be good. So that's the main sound really. If we want to do some extra effects like pitch manipulation, when we go up to the, then it would sound like this. That's one of my favorite techniques to use in sound design. Like that's the stuff you'll hear on like a Bruno Mars album or like some 80s music using this modulation wheel. So I'll go over that pretty quickly. Chances are you're going to be confused, but that's why I have the Sound Design 101 course for you, a whole video all about LFOs and how to use them. LFOs right here, what does that stand for? Low frequency oscillator. In the most non-nerdy basic way, it's something that you could use to change a sound. That's the easiest way to put it. Now, if I wanted to sound like a complete nerd saying it, then I would say I use a low frequency oscillator to modulate the amount of pitch manipulation through these different waveforms. We're looking at a triangle wave, We have a sawtooth and a reverse sawtooth. If you look at a waveform, pretend that's the pitch now. So we have a triangle, it goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Watch if I up the mod wheel, or up an octave. That's that the pitch is literally going up and down the triangle wave, up, down, up, down, up, down, and it wobbles like that. So if I were to change that shape to like a sawtooth wave, right, the pitch is gonna go up like zzz, zzz, zzz. It's gonna sound like a siren and alarm because we're going up, cut down, up, cut down. That's really fast. Like if I lower the frequency and slow it down a little bit, up, down, then cut. Then you have its brother, the reverse sine wave over here. It's going to sound like the opposite. That starts up here, goes down, cuts back up. Then we got square wave. Square wave just goes up, square, very angular, very cut out, right? So what's that going to sound like? It's just going to go from one pitch value to the next. Boom, 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 boom. No in between, just pitch to pitch. You know what I mean? The frequency is how fast it's going to move. So if I wanted it faster, not so fast you can't even hear it, but doing really fast, really slow, go like this. Up, down. Sounds like an airplane, right? I'll set the frequency at like something kind of quick. The amount, if I turn the mod wheel down, put the amount up, you would hear this on every note that I touch. So I put the amount down and have it set up so the modulation wheel is controlling the amount. So an example of that, I'll play for you. Cool, right? So that's all linked to the mod wheel right here. All I gotta do is turn it up a little bit when I want some pitch modulation, or you could use the pitch wheel, which just goes up and down. So people go up and down with that really fast to go meow. I'll just play a few riffs, play a few ideas out so you can hear what we just did. So there you go. If you like this video, you're definitely going to love my sound design 101 course that I just put out. It's brand new. We go all the way in depth. You're going to come out of it creating your own sounds, making you that much more unique and skillful as a producer. chamberscourses.com. You can join the online class to access that course and over 100 other educational videos for you, as well as some free sound kits here and there. And if you don't want to join, then you could easily rent any video in the online class to have for a week. Thank you all so much for watching. Please share this video with anyone who's interested in sound design. Leave a comment. Let me know what videos you guys want to see in the future. It's Chambers from chambersmixedit.com, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy New Year. Peace.